We are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2023 BA Awards ceremony. I'm Terry. I'm joined by Pom. Mate, howdy.
Well, I mean, this is a big night for the players, to be
Yeah,
fair. This is the night of nights, the night of kings, we should call it. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've had to have a week in Bali and Italy to prepare themselves, because these are the real awards. Do you know what I mean? Any idiot can win a coach's award, but this is the real award. This is the real
correct.
one. Thank
Correct.
you, Mrs. P.
This is these are the awards that not many people will know that they win, apart from this channel. But I think to go down in blue or broad history in winning an award on this type of night, I think it says a lot. I think also, you've had the Brownlow medal, grand final days come and gone, best and fairest has come and gone. What about the fan awards, mate? What about the fan awards? The people that...
Mate, Nat Fife says he'd trade his Brownlow for a flag. I'll tell you what, I've heard rumours that players would trade flags to win this award. This is what it's all about. Keep your flags, keep your trophies. This is it.
This is it. So what we're going to do today, ladies and gents, now those of you who have been with us all year, you'll know, we do the player ratings. We had a little bit of a shake-up. It's gone through its own journey. We are going to use the same system, and we're going to be giving out a few awards, and we're going to dive deep into the team. We're going to look at the backman of the year, the midfielder of the year, the forward of the year, top five. You're going to see top fives for each category. We're going to see the most improved for 2023 based on the ratings. We're going to see the most consistent based on the ratings and who fluctuated the least. Then we're going to look at the new kid on the block. So obviously we didn't do first year player because that's just Ollie Hollands. So we rejigged that for the new player on the block. We'll look at finals, and then we'll end with the player of the year. So, Pom, do we need to know anything else before we get into it as to how you calculated all of these? Because the first 12 weeks of this was just zeros all around, mate.
No, so Pom had a bit of work. I had to go back and, if you want a sympathy, on my birthday, I went back and watched the shit games just to make sure that TPI mirrors up with what the eyes can see. So that was fun. Just to confirm as well, everyone in chat worried it's Essence colours. This is navy and red. It's probably just the lighting, but there you can see inside it's navy.
Yeah,
never wear black and red.
If you are asking about that blazer, that means you must be not new, but you're probably a couple of years old. This blazer's been a staple for about 4 years now.
Mate, I was in this very jacket when I told you Liam Stocker was the next Luke Hodge. So, I mean, so this jacket and me, we have history.
You look the camera down the barrel, and you tell the people that Stocker is the next Luke Hodge.
Look, I get it right, but I also get it wrong. I'm happy to admit as well on both of them. Oh dear, jacket's always got a special place in my heart. This jacket.
Yes. All right, let's begin because there's a lot to get through. So we're going to start with the backman of the year. Let me just rejig what's going on here. Oh.
So while Terry does that, if you guys are sad like Terry and me, and you spend a lot of time doing stuff like thumbnails, you might be able to predict who them holograms are. Terry's got like 100% success rate. But this is literally their core averages throughout the year. So this is what they've scored out of 10 from round one till the final game as well. So we've mirrored the John Nichols medal, and as long as they play, they score. So you've got 5 to a very impressive numero uno. But these are guys who have played backman. They have had to play back for more than 3 games if they've played more than 3 games.
Right. Now, for those of you that have been watching the live streams lately, we do play a bit of Warple, and you'll be able to figure it out if you play the game with us. So anyway, let's get cracking. In 5th place, Brody Kemp. Is that a surprise?
I don't think so. There's not many backmen, is there? I mean, Voss hasn't really rotated it that much, but I mean, I think he's been very solid, hasn't he? He's been a standout from start to finish, really, in my opinion. He's been fair. He's got one of them fluxes, though, where he's been up and down, but he's done pretty well.
Yeah. Coming in fourth is Mitch McGovern, 7.1 average for the year. Played the most games for the club since he's been here. We finally got to see what it looked like with Mitch McGovern for more than 15 games. I think he played 18 in the end. So a good return.
Finally playing games.
It makes a difference, doesn't it? We actually know what we want to do moving forward when he's playing.
Indeed, indeed. He's been very good. Very good. Definitely our best back six is old Mitch now.
Yeah. Next up, Adam Sard. Always reliable, always consistent. We will see how consistent he is and see if he pops up in the later segment. Coming in second place, Nick Newman. I had tipped him to win the BNF, Night of BNF. So I think he and Sard now sit comfortably in the same level. I think Sard was probably ahead last year. I think Newey's taken his game to a new level.
Interesting as well. 5 years ago, we got him for that dodgy pick at the end of the trade period.
And no surprise here, but the best rated backman of the year was Jacob Riedering. So an average rating of 8.46. Stunning, really.
He was the he flirted with tens at times, his own Riedering. Particularly, I think what's impressive about, if you look at all these backmen, when Carlton were winning, Riedering was scoring well. And when Carlton were losing, Riedering was scoring well. So, I mean, that's the big thing. Him and Newman are the two who literally win, lose, or draw, have been top performers. Sard playing in a different role when there was injuries. Do you know what I mean? He was playing a bit more defensive, then a bit more aggressive. I think the big one here is number 5, Brodie Kemp. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's going to feature in the new kids on the block, the guys who have played less than 20. He'll be featured in that. And that's just phenomenal that he is now one of 5 best defenders at the football club in really what is his full first season of playing continual games. So really good to have him.
Yeah, very good. Let's move to the midfielders. So maybe we'll give you in the chat the chance to type out your 5 to 1, who you think will take out the best midfielder of the year. Any surprises here, Pom? I haven't actually looked at this.
I don't think so. I mean, I think if I keep a little tally of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 from before I look at any data. And I think all 5 of these guys would have featured quite highly in that role. As you can see, Doc, 5th best, rejuvenated as a midfielder, been really the Swiss Army knife of midfields and been incredibly strong all year, really, has Sam Docherty. He's taken a bit of a back seat from what we're used to seeing, that guy who gets 30 touches in the back half and really in the field of play now, and has been a reliable player in this rejuvenation of the football club.
I think with all the talk in the last few weeks around losing Dow and Fisher and, having to replace the depth, I think one of the points that didn't get stressed enough was that Doc's now a midfielder. So we've moved him officially, I think, now. It's safe to say that's part of the plan now. He's one of the midfielders.
And a shout out to the guy who finished second in the Batman of the Year. Nick Newman really took on that responsibility of being the defended and the attacker down back. Sard, he picked up the pieces as well. And credit to Kemp as well. I think Kemp has really has done so well down the back that we don't need that leadership down there. We need the leadership in the guts. And he looks brilliant. I agree with you. People are talking about you've lost Dow and lost Fisher. You've actually gained Doc and Williams next year. And correct. I mean, I think you'd be crazy if you'd rather have Dow and Fisher on your list over Doc and Mr. Zach Williams.
We said we wouldn't say Dow's name anymore. We just said his name. Let's just move on.
Hey.
Chera, 4th. Interesting. I thought he was one of our better performed players in the losing streak.
He was definitely. Obviously, when the midfield started to play, though, like in the Brownlow as well, people get votes taken off you when everyone starts to perform. I think he definitely was affected when Walsh hit his straps, but that's just picking hairs. He's been phenomenal all year, and you look at his start as well. Up till the bye, he was actually averaging the same as Wheater in 8.5.
Wow.
So after that, after the injuries, he started to have a bit of a secondary role. But obviously, remember, this is from round 1 till the finals. But Chesney, incredible effort to finish top 5.
Mm-hmm. Well, not far ahead of him, only 0.04 ahead of him. Blake Acres. This would have been a shock to us the start of the year if we were picking our top 5s, I think.
Blake Acres, just to put it in perspective, up till the bye, average of 4.57.
Really?
Back half of the year, this guy, like from the bye, 7.5, 8.5, 7.57, 9.5, 8.5, 9, 9.5. Finished the year really strong. Once that midfield started to hum, the insiders did their job, the outsiders got busy. And this is where now we're seeing the top 3, the guys really kicking on in that back pointy end of the year. And Acres was a big part of that, I think. I think in fairness, if Voss was here, he would say Acres was a key ingredient in them middle second half of the season games where Carlton started to get on a run. Blake Acres was sensational.
Yeah. And what I like about the ratings is it's not there's no emotion. Just because you like a player, you got to get him up there. And it also really caters to the role. Like Wiedering, for example, we were all getting our knickers in a knot around, oh, well, he's not offensively, giving us much, but defensively as a defender, he was giving us exactly what he needed to. And I think Acres, as the wingman that he is, was performing it to a T.
Mate, he's been brilliant. He's been brilliant, and Says nails it as she often does. What do we bring up? How good a trade it was. I mean, Nick Austin. Tell you what, Ned Kelly had the courtesy to put a mask on his face before he robbed people. Nick Austin does it with a smile.
Smile, I love it, and a can. Austin 316, mate. All right, so let's go to our second, Cripps. I think I said this to you on the phone the other day, and I will carry this with me into next year. I took him for granted this year because he's so good in congestion. You just expect it. And I think when I watch the replays now, like every time he is near the ball and there's 2-3 opposition players around it, he always gets the ball out to a teammate. It's remarkable. He's so good at what he does.
Probably the most understated player in the league. And it's one of them shames because people this year have been raving about certain players, as they often do. We know Tom Liberatore's had a really strong year. Lockie Neal obviously won the Brownlow. People have talked about Marcus Bontempelli and Clayton Oliver. You're looking at all them stats that they measure them on. Cripps is less than 0.5 away. And in some cases, beating them. And when you look at what he does as a human being and as a role for this football club, it might be a bad year because he doesn't have the finger twirling moments and the 3 goals, 30 game. But when it really matters, what does Cripps do? Cripps allows the guy who won this to average 8, the guy who finished just below him to have 7.54, and then the other 2 guys who have been really consistent in their fluctuations to have 7.5s. And that is all Cripps. Cripps is the glue that holds them together. And where we had the conversation this time last year, that Hewitt won Cripps a Brownlow, Cripps, the captain, has made the other 4 footballers. That's how important he is.
Yeah. Well, that will lead us to the number 1, Sam Walsh, because I think moving into next year, Sam Walsh with a full preseason, with a healthy, hopefully a healthy Cripps next to him as well, is going to be not dissimilar, a beneficiary to that same principle, right?
what a terrific year Sam Walsh has had for a guy that, in fairness to him, has spent a bit of time on the pine this year, which we're not used to. We're not used to this miracle man being injured. But do you know what I mean? In the short time he did play for us, and we say short time, he did play 18 games, but you're looking at a guy that was ranked top 10 in the league, top 5 for a midfielder in goal assists, top 10 in the league for midfielders for efficiency inside 50. So that's scores generated per inside 50. And another top 10 finish for score involvements for team percentage in 18 games. That basically is telling you Sam Walsh is everything Carlton is about offense. And it's interesting, 3 years ago when Kane Corn said Rosie is better because of what he impacts on the scoreboard. What we've seen this year is this is a new Sam Walsh. This is a Sam Walsh that's no longer getting his hands dirty. He's the provider, the excitement guy in the periphery of that congestion. And Sam Walsh, this should scare the AFL because what Lockie Neal can do, Sam Walsh can do better. And thank God he didn't play 24 games if you're an opposition fan, because he was hitting his straps in finals. Imagine if he had 2 warm-up games before the finals. He could have maybe won that game on his own against Brisbane.
A full preseason with him. I mean, yeah, he had barely any preseason, if at all. Broke his back, spinal. Sorry.
That was brilliant. What a reference.
I broke my back. So to do what he did, and I think also when you look at the story of Walsh's season, it was it's defined by having to overcome a great challenge in injury. And, on talent alone, he's right up there with the best in the league. I think he also just reminded us all that maybe he's our best player when it's all said and done.
I think what you look at there is there's 4 players there that have all finished top 10 in their respective positions. So Cripps, if we just look, if we break the midfield into the go-getter, Cripps is number 1 in the league for that, for all the hard stats. We talked about Walsh. He's top 10 for all the offensive stats. Akers is 6th rated wingman in the league this year, right? For his output. Then there's the anomaly here. 4 and 5 are the 2 midfielders that rank top 20 for midfield stats across the board. If you categorize them as general midfielders, bits and pieces players. So you are looking there. There's some players we haven't even mentioned as well. George Hewitt, he's been heavily injured, but if you look at as an extractor, he's still top 20 in the league. You've also got Ollie Hollins, another preseason, another year, another age and experience. His brother Elijah, he'll be hungry to showcase his wares. And then the one that we all forget about, Zach Williams, who did train with the midfield group before getting injured. Carlton have got a very fearsome 7 or 8 players that can run through there. And when you look at the model, Collingwood, Pies, and Collingwood, Brisbane, GWS, they like to float 9 or 10 through there. And that's something we did at the end of the year. Suddenly, Carlton have got a real fearsome 8 or 9 players that are going to be coming up against you every week. And if they stay fit, that's a flag-winning 5 there.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go to the forwards. Let's have a look. The highest rated forwards. I think already you just look at the numbers and it paints the picture of the best line on the field. And it really goes defense, midfield, forward. So let's have a look. In 5th spot, Matt Owies. What do we make of a 6.2 average?
And this is where we'd expect, if you go and do this with some other clubs, you'll always see the 5th rated player is usually that guy that's sharked a few goals, God bless him. And this was probably his, to be fair, was one thing that we like about Matty Owies. He does find the onion bag per game. Not as much tackles and the output that we expect from where he first started, but he's definitely started to become that very able goal sneak, and averaging 1.5 goals a game, bringing players in, very, very strong, and someone who's developed. And this is one of them 8 areas now where always is probably the benchmark of what you need to be AFL standard.
Yep.
We need these younger boys now to start who have had a bigger run at this. Motlop and always Durden have been doing this since they were 2. This is the time to chase them and chase him down.
I liked that at the start of the year, a lot of us didn't have always in the best 22, and we were looking at maybe we were looking too far ahead in hindsight. Motlop and Durden to be the small forwards, and I think always the way his year played out and his consistency, I think that's a good thing for the forward depth. And exactly like you said, like Corey Durden has some work to do to get into that mix. He's got to take his spot essentially, because I'm not sure all 3 will be playing in the same team all year.
Spot on. He's the benchmark. He's the benchmark of acceptability. So if these guys are going to be superstars, they've got a very tough guy to knock out of the team. And I agree with Stephen. You probably needed his consistency in the finals, particularly. And that's why Voss likes Fogarty, likes Owies. These guys, you can bet your ass to a barn dance they're going to perform. And in a final situation, do you want 10 out of 10 but could get 0? Or do you want 6 out of 10 and then you work around that? You're always going to take the 6 out of 10.
Fair. All right. Matty Cottrell next. So interesting. He played more forward this year than any other year, I would say.
He did, yeah. And you can see Elijah Hollands comes in. He'll definitely be looking at this spot because obviously he swings on the wing. Fogarty likes to go on the ball. Cunners pinch hits on the ball. Voss has made it quite clear that whoever plays high half forward has to play that role. And you've just seen what's capable, because I think Cottrell, you take out of his goals, I think it was about 72% of them are Joe de Gooses. So do you count them? Some people will say. I think you do, because he's got to get there. And you look at how far he runs, it's the work rate. And this is a credit to him. To finish top 5 in the forwards, probably a detriment to where the club is in not be nasty to him. But you really want to see your Motlops and your Durdens and your Harrys here. But fair play to him. He has been a consistent performer, and Carlton's final run wouldn't have been there without him. So great effort from him.
And a big-time game against the Swans in that first elimination final. So Jack Martin next. Another one who I wouldn't say we got to see him the way we got to see McGovern, but I still remember preseason, the news about him being on a modified program and then doing a calf again. And now we have a little bit more context. We know the story around they just couldn't figure out what to do about his calf and how to get back on the park. And then there was some sort of breakthrough. His lovely partner did some more research as well. That's a fascinating story in itself. But I mean, is it so far-fetched to say that we could work towards Jack Martin playing 20 games in a season and what that would do for the team?
I don't think there's any doubt. And I think you've only got to look at it. Do you know what I mean? His inside 50 ratio to scores, his impacts per possession. This is what you're looking for forwards. You've either got to be bringing tackle. And what you'll see with this 5, it's either tackle pressure, output like Jack Martin, or just pure goals. Just pure goals. And I think really, if you look at the top 3 sides in the league who finished above us, one thing that they had really strong is all their forwards finished as a low. They would have finished 3rd on Carlton's. Their lowest player would have finished 3rd. So this is why you can see Nick Austin has said the forward line, getting some development into them and getting some others is important. But Jack Martin is what we need. We need that guy that can just do what he does and does it, and the players around him work hard. But Jack Martin is probably the pillar of what we want at half forward. We love him, and hopefully pre-season.
Yeah.
24 games.
We definitely want him in the top 5. I've been trying to figure out who this is at number 2. I get Lockie Fogarty vibes, but I don't think it's Lockie Fogarty. Really? Jack Silvani. There you go. Let's unpack this.
Wonderful thing about Jack is his versatility. And you know what? I may have cheated on this because he has played a lot of ruck work, but I've put him where Voss genuinely plays him when he's not there. And I figured his season deserves a little bit of recognition because this is, again, and you'll see it on another award, his output is his output. Do you know what I mean? With Jack and all these players have dual roles, and Jack Silvani does that. He showcases that. He brings that extra mark. He brings that conduit. It is a problem position for Carlton. It's something that you can see when they play the two rucks with TDK and Pitternet. TDK does this role when Jack wasn't there, and it didn't work. It's a very specialist role, and this is a season here where don't sleep on Jack. They've given him a year deal, and a year deal says to me, you're under a little bit of pressure. You're under a bit of pressure. But it also says to me that he's fighting probably for that one role. It says to me that the club has decided the two rucks are Pitternet and TDK. Hudson O'Cleef and Murkoff are fighting for that backup position. Screams to me that JSL is going to get a year as a forward. And this is the year he's got to take it, because for me, 2 and 3 can't play in the same team. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be Mr. Consistency, low ceiling, high floor Jack versus high ceiling Jack, low floor, high floor as well. Jack Martin. It's going to be an interesting battle.
That is an interesting point. The last 2 years in particular, he just hasn't been able to stay in that forward line. Because, a couple of years ago, Pitto went, or Tom de Koning just wasn't ready to play every game. This year, Pitto went down. Actually, Pitto went down both years. So he finds himself in the ruck. No, that's a very good sign. I mean, number one is no surprise. That's going to be Charlie Curnow, who won the Coleman. We could talk about Charlie all we like, but I think this actually probably lends to a bit of a broader discussion. Like, Harry Mackay's just got to be in this 5. He has to be. And I think it actually goes to, the defenders, no real surprises. The midfielders, no real surprises. Quality players. The forwards, and not to disrespect Owies or Cottrell, but Harry has to be here. Harry's got to be averaging 7, I think. That's where I think we're going to see improvement.
Apologies, it was 2 years as well. Stand by my statement, though. 2 years with Jesus. It's still not a long time in a time where you would have thought Carlton had put a bit of commitment behind it if that was a long term. But that being said, you look at the forwards, Terry, you're spot on. From Matty Owies' score, the rest of the forwards are oscillating in a very small median from 6.15 to 5.92. Yeah, and what that's telling you is they need to get there. They need to get there. And although the goals were okay from a lot of them, there was a good spread. We are looking for these guys to really maximize their output. And a lot of these scores here goes back to what I said in the season show that I did with Terry about our pressure hides skill errors. So a lot of these scores are reflective not on what we'd be looking from the forwards. They're high scoring in defensive aspects, particularly Motlop, who had similar goals to games to Owies. He gets a lot of points for his defensive work. We need more offensive work. And that's where Jack Silvani did really well. And Jack Martin, who scored high, for bringing players in. We need these players to be finishing it off. And hopefully next year, got to remember, Motlop and Durden are babies, wet behind the ears. This is the year that's coming up that we genuinely see them go. And I suspect next season that 2 and 3 probably ain't in the top 5. I'd say that when we do this next year, some big boy will be in that top 5, and 2 little blokes that are out there will be 3 and 4.
I like it. Now we're going to turn our attention to the most improved. So, run me through how this was calculated.
So this is the average percentage above what TPI predicted them to be at either their stage in their career versus where they are at the moment. So some players here, TPI underrated. I can tell you one, the person who won it, TPI nailed until something clicked in him. So they are, again, second half season stats, which showing a great development and a great bit of maturity. And then the rest have just really improved and really putting the graft in. So anything over 1% is good. And as you can see, Carlton have got 4 of them.
Okay, let's have a look. Brody Kemp, 0.95% above expectation. Is that
Yeah,
the right
on
way to-
average. So
Gotcha.
that's really strong for a defender because TPI likes his game, even from juniors and VFL. It's very transferable, particularly now he's down the back. So may have surprised some people, but like for me as well, I agree with TPI. Brody Kemp was always going to be good. He's a cut above the rest of his draft class.
All right. Next up, Dave Cunningham. Right. So performed a little bit better overall.
So Dave Cunningham's an interesting one. TPI isn't like AFL ratings, or it has no emotion. It has no care factor for 2019 games versus Hawthorn. If you don't play for 12 months, it eradicates you from its memories. It doesn't rate you, and it starts you from a blank. So a little bit of a cheat for David Cunningham because it was basically judging him off a core standard of everyone else with limited game time. But in fairness to Cunners, up until the back half of the season, he was always around that 6.57 mark when we did our rating. So that's pretty impressive when TPI would have predicted him to be about 5.5 average, doing really well.
Yeah. Pretty much his last 3-ish games, he just fell away. And then you zoom out and you have to say, well, didn't have a preseason again. I don't really know if he's had a full preseason ever, to be honest. So that's one that is a watch this space. Caleb Marchbank next up. Yeah. Played the last 8 straight games after missing however many he missed.
See what we said about Cunners. AFL forgot about him. TPI forgot about him. It was like he doesn't exist anymore. And again, being very strong and played the hardest position towards the end, started to get that key position job, which is very hard to score well. And that's why it shouldn't be understated. Wheatering did so well to score at that level when you're playing in a position that the only way you lose is by losing games of football and being kicked goals on. It's a tough position. Everyone is pushing and attacking you. And Marchbank did incredibly well. And remember, this is expectation, George, as well. So this isn't who was better. This was who was better than expected. So obviously TPI at the start of the year expected Kemp to have a better year than Marchbank, given the fact that Kemp was always on grass. Marchbank didn't. So credit to Marchbank's fitness here. He's changed the algorithm and changed his averages that he's compared against. Impressive work.
We've got a little $100 donation here from Wood,
UK,
giving us the UK awards for the 2 gentlemen. Thank you very much, mate.
See this award, chat, as we thought you were going to be shit, but you proved us wrong. That's what the award would be called.
Jack Silvani again. I've got to remember his outline. Yeah. Okay. Jack Silvani at 2.
Giving Jack hate in chat. I thought you all loved him. You all tell me he's a Brownlow medalist.
I know.
What do you want? But no, Jack, again, very tough to rate because this guy in TPI land, 1 minute he's a ruckman, next minute he's a ruck forward, then he's a forward. Poor guy, doesn't know if he's Arthur or Martha, but credit to Jack. One thing from looking at his analytics, and even if you just use your eyes and you don't understand maths, just go and look at his output versus players playing the same role. And then remember, he isn't that position. So again, Jack continues to surprise. And you know, the thing that the biggest insult I'll give Jack, but it means to be a compliment, is if you wanted to Google, get a dictionary and open up bang AFL average, it's this guy. Like that would be the picture in the book. Bang average. Jack is bang average across the board, and it's a compliment.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, the one who surprised the ratings system the most. It's not Ollie Hollands. I know a few of you see the hair. It's not Ollie Hollands. It is De Koning. And this makes sense, particularly at the end of the year or that second half of the year. We started to see, dare I say it, a bit of a penny drop.
Did back half the year, particularly when he was doing this solo. And remember when we were doing these ratings, we kept saying that ruckmen have their ass kicked a little bit because It's a position that not many people can help you and not many people can save you. You are on your own. And the numbers reflect your game really well. Like, we can make excuses for other players' bad numbers. With TDK, with players like that, if they get exposed, they get exposed. And look at the work he did against some of the players that he did. Do you know what I mean? Kept Mr. Max Gorn to his second worst AFL rating score in AFL history, which is an impressive thing. He came up against the players, and that second half, it is frightening where TDK, if you could do that for a whole year, where we might rate him. But TDK, worthy winner of this thing. But few people asking Nick Newman. TPI loves Nick Newman. Nick Newman has been what I always say, the 6 out of 10 footballer for the last 5 years. So it always expects him to be good. And Adam Chera, TPI expects him to be good. He's a midfielder with skills. So these players here are literally guys who have performed above their expectation in the role that they were provided. And I think all 5 of them would probably be in my mind's eye. If I didn't look at the numbers, I'd say, yeah, these guys are probably a bit better than I thought. I'd probably eat a bit of humble pie with all 5 of these guys. Maybe not Kemp, but the other 4 I would do.
Yeah, I think Cunners and Marchbank are the 2 where at the start of the year they were seemingly nowhere near ready to play and didn't know if they would play 1 game, let alone 8, however many they both played. So, are you optimistic that they can stay on the park now that they've done it?
No. I need to. I think Marchbank, yes.
Right.
Connors, I have to admit, the flagging in the back half of the season did worry me a little bit because it was obvious the last 4 weeks this guy was knackered. And Marchbank, I felt like he got better. Kind of got like a second wind, which and people keep telling me it's a pre-season, but you've got to, like, I'm not being harsh. You're only running. We're not asking you to come a minefield here. Jack Silvani, I think he's got to win this to keep his position. I think a lot of players have got X factor. I don't think Kemp will be here next season. Maybe will be. TDK, I think, could be a shout. I think for Carlton to be a real force, TDK's got to do that again, because I think at the moment he's very good, in my opinion. To answer your question, Chills, no, we didn't. Brisbane and Collingwood have that monopoly, which is interesting because their second ruckmen aren't real people. As real ruckmen, probably, if we class them. So that's another argument. Is number 2 here actually the number 2 ruckman? And Carlton play a different way. Voss has already confirmed, though, he doesn't like that. So TDK, if he's an all-Australian ruckman this time next year.
Adrian, shout out to you. Yeah, if
he is, flag 17's locked and loaded, baby, because that's probably the one thing we lack. And we did look very good when he started to come alive.
All right. Now we're going to move. I like this one. I'm excited to see how this one plays out. We're going to go to the most consistent. So correct me if I'm wrong, Pom. Every player gets a rating every week. This calculates the smallest deviation from a player's best and worst on average for the year.
Yep. So number 1 is not even close. If I say it's the best in the league in a fluctuation, that's underselling how good it is. Like, that is so, literally, this rating popped out. This is the only award, right? So this is the only award. So all the other awards we draw tonight and we have done, throw them in the bin. No one gives a shit. This, for me, is the award. And the man who has won it, an incredible 0.22 difference throughout the year percentage in his flux. That's ridiculous. All these numbers are very good. All these numbers are very good as well. But that is insane. Like, that is, like, you can bet on his output, basically, and you could be a millionaire.
Love it. let's start. So in fifth spot, Cripps. So is this 2% or
Yeah,
2
so
points?
so Cripps is quite an interesting one because up till the bye, he was 6.5. And this is where, so what this judges is it doesn't judge if you do better than your expected output. It only punishes you when you go below it. So to be 0.22, to put that in perspective, it means you've never gone below what your expected median is. 2% is pretty impressive. For Cripps, when it's 2%, though, it's your attacking output. So you do notice it. But if you look at this year, Cripps's output, apart from them 2 games when he was injured and he missed, they've been incredibly impressive. They've been incredibly reliable. So well done, Cripps, because if this is a bad year, good job you don't have good years because they won't be able to rig Neil winning a medal.
Bang. Adam Chera next. No real surprise there. Been pretty consistent. He doesn't.
So this is the award. This is the award that you care about, to be fair. And Adam Chera's never really had a bad game. He had a bit like Cripps. He had 3 mediocre games as opposed to stinkers. Cripps had a couple of stinkers. He only had 5 mediocre games, which did go against him a little bit because it was at the time his rating was rising every week. So that's probably his own doing, not winning this medal. But very impressive, very impressive.
Okay. Akers at 2.
Akers is phenomenal because where the average wingman ranks is bang on 5.5 per game.
Right.
Few wingers throughout the year have over average. And that's why I always think wingmen hated in the AFL media because they're quite hard to judge. I can't remember. I think it's the Mongrel Punt do Wingman of the Year. They try and put a bit of publicity wingman's ways. It's a real interesting article if you read it every week. But basically, it's who's the least shit every week wins that. Akers is that case in point. So believe it or not, the games that you hate him for are standard wingers games. Carlton are very new to having a winger because since I've been here, we play an inside midfielder on the wing or someone who's built like a feather in Lockie O'Brien. Having a proper bona fide wingman shows just how incredible he's been. And again, very consistent. Then back end of the year, he actually polled 0 for 6 weeks. So that's a 0 consistency score, meaning that he was exactly where he wanted to be or above. So that's incredible.
Sammy Walsh, number 2.
Very easy for Sam Walsh when you only play it in games. He chose the right games as well to miss, incidentally, because they were very low scoring games. But again, Walsh, he is a machine, man. And this is something that I don't think anyone's talking about. His 18 games were them last 9 games he played are as good as probably anyone's played in a Carlton shirt. That finals series, I saw the last time we played finals, Judd, it made me fall in love with the game. I'll say this, far better than Judd's finals campaign.
Yep.
Far better.
You're actually right. Juddy champion. We love Juddy. Had some good finals. I think 2010 against the Swans, but he was one that lifted mid-game. Walsh was just all game, 4 quarters, all 3 finals that they played was just there.
Oh, mate, I think when I go back to that Richmond game and it stands in our head, doesn't it? It does. This could be fitting. That was very offensive football, wasn't it? But forget that. Walsh, that Sydney game, popping up back pocket for an intercept mark, laying the kick off and then finishing the entry inside 50 for a goal. Judd didn't do that at that stage in his career. Walsh, at times, especially you look at the first half of that Brisbane game, Walsh was on his own against Brisbane. There was points in that game, Walsh was on his own, taking Lockie Neal on, who, whether you agree with it or not, I think it was rigged. I don't think Lockie Neal is the best player in this league, but we've got to say he is because the Brownlow, we've put a fake medal on his shirt. Walsh killed him in that first half. Walsh basically said, you are the Mickey Mouse champ, the plastic champion. True. Walsh killed him.
I'll take it from here. Thanks, Lockie.
Do you know what I mean? And Sayers nails it. 23 years old. We have got another 10 years of this. And the way he is, You're looking at Cristiano Ronaldo here, ladies and gentlemen. He's probably going to be playing till he's 40.
He's a special talent. That's what he is.
But the guy who's won it, fuck me. No.
Let's talk about this. So 0.22 fluctuation. It's insane.
It is. And there's probably someone unlucky here, right? And I want to give him a special shout out before we go too far. But from round 14, there is a gentleman that literally had a 0. But if you remember, there was 2 games Nick Newman had where he scored a 4.5 and a 5. And that killed him because obviously the percentage when you're averaging an 8 a game and you do that is a big flux. And he just missed out on a podium place, 2.10 for 2 bad games. This is why I'm telling you this is the most important one, because this is basic. If you're picking a team and someone's got to play for your life, Sam Doherty saves your life nearly every time. What a performance from Sam Doherty. Literally almost monotonous when you look at his ratings, right? The only time we've got one that was bad was the game he missed. So obviously that doesn't count. But hasn't had a score this year on TPI be a low 6.5.
Wow. Kudos.
Mr. Consistent. This is the only award. The others are, who cares? Who cares what matter. You played well a couple of times? No one gives a shit. This is it. He never plays a bad game. Put some respect in his name.
All right. We're going to move on to the new kid on the block. So rather than going best first-year player, how did you do this? You did someone who had not played more than 20 games at the start of this season.
Yeah, so we took 20 as a figure because that's roughly how many games, and unless the AFL just makes shit up and add games. So we'll say 20. So 20 games. So basically, we're going to class you as a baby player. And New Kids on the Block, probably the best band ever in the 90s. So thought we'd have that. A bit of Hey, there we are. We'll release that for Christmas, chat.
All right, let's have a look at the New Kids on the Block. In 5th spot, not so much of a kid, but definitely you know what? He is a kid. New Kid on the Block. Alex Chincotta. Well, I'm curious, what was the expectation for him? Mine was, I did not think he'd play more than a couple of games.
You don't have to win an award, Pom Cotter. You got to be called Pom Cotter. That's the real. You're the real winner here, Mr. Pom Cotter. Playing the worst position in the AFL for scoring, and I've tried. I will be doing some amendments for the back pocket because I want to try and get them to score well. So we're going to have to try and really fiddle with these ratings. But a 5.92 playing back pocket and boring the shit out of yourself is very impressive. He's very impressive there because this is the least thankful job, because in this league, ground ball get wins are the ones that kill you because everyone remembers the small forward kicking goals on you. Yep. Chincotta plays that role, and I agree with you, Terry. We probably were hoping for 4, 5, 6 games from him, break class in case of emergency. This guy became a staple.
Yep. Reliable in there, and he allowed others to play to their strengths.
Mate, so, we love a bit of Pom Cotter. He's always going to be folklore legend.
We do. So there's Ollie in his first season, 5.94. That's a solid start. If we can get that up to like a 6.5 next year, little bit by little bit, you build off it, right?
Mate, Team Pom, 4 and 5. We love them. Mate, incredible work. And for a first-year player, these are solid scores. Wingman, it's a very specialised position. And I don't want to downplay Harry Sheasel, but any idiot can play off halfback, right? No offence to Zach Fisher, but he looked fucking amazing there. Wings are specialist positions, particularly when you play like Carlton. Real good start for Ollie. And he's got a real good performer to learn off in Akers. And it's going to be exciting. Another year, he's got a bit of confidence, particularly that final game. When he came in, it felt like he started to get it and enjoy himself a little bit. And I think this time next year, a year into the system, I really expect to see this gentleman fly a little bit.
think we'll start seeing him at more centre bounces slowly but surely as well. He's just got a knack for it.
Well, we already had Voss admit he accidentally took that centre bounce. And not many players can say that they attended one centre bounce this year and had a 100% clearance record. He did.
He did.
He's better than Neil.
Then, Jesse.
The J-Mox.
We were hoping. I remember. I actually found myself enjoying his year because I remember at the start of the year saying, just relax, to myself. Second year player. Still 19. And I think having done that, it allowed me to really appreciate his year. Kicked 20 plus goals for I think it was 24. Had some really big games as well. I feel like the penny drop moment for him was the Port Adelaide game where he was the late in, was dropped, and then he was named as the sub. And then from there, he just found his consistency.
The quickest way people can ever tell me that they've never played sport is when they look at players like this guy and they get on his case. Now, I'm just going to read out his numbers, right? And this is the issue I've got with Jesse Motlop, and this is why I'm excited. A score of 9, the week after 4, then 7-7, then 4, then 8, then 4, then 8, then 2, then 5, then 2. This guy here is everything that you need, and this is why it's so important when we're talking about the forwards, they up their game, because there's a player in the league, there's 2 I'll name, that are very similar to this in their yearly trajectory. One's Charlie Cameron. Charlie Cameron is, I always call him the 10-01 player, right? He's that player that you put in your super coach that week, you put in your draft stars, you're like, oh, it's West Coast, he'll kick 8, and he has 1 touch. And you're like, dickhead. So you don't put him in next week, and then he kicks 8 against Collingwood, and you're like, fuck. That's Motlop. That's Motlop's game. It was Motlop's game as a junior. The problem was he couldn't string 2 games together. But when he did, you lived in hope. Very Cyril Rioli. And the other player we're going to mention is Bobby Hill. And I find Bobby Hill amazing. After the final, every post, I hope Carlton go in the draft and get a Bobby Hill. What, you want a player? Fuck me. Be careful what you wish for, because Bobby Hill is that player. Bobby Hill is 4 goals, no goals. 4 goals, no goals. 2 goals, 1. 0-0. 2 goals, 3. This is what Motlop is, and this is going to be Motlop throughout his career. You're never going to get him to be consistent, and you don't want him to be. The things that are consistent, top 10 in the league for inside 50 tackles. Top 10 in the league for small forwards in goals per game. That is the consistent part of it. His output has to fluctuate, and that is how good we get. So for me, Motlop, walk up start round 1, get 2 good people around him, get a pressure forward, and then get another player who's a hybrid, maybe a Corey Durden, who can be Fogarty and Owies, and watch him fly. But tell you what, him being 3rd here tells me he's him. We're just sleeping on him.
19 years old. I keep saying it.
2nd year, man. People forget. Yeah, people. I was actually shocked, and I did the draft review of him. I forgot he's this young, because it feels like he's been around forever.
Yeah. Jordan Boyd. It took me a while to have the faith, and I think the prelim is the one game that truly got me believing in him. Clearly, the coaches had seen something that we hadn't, because they're at training every day. But he's got like it's like a fearlessness to him.
Mate, a guy that if he didn't have the first part of the season would have featured very high in Mr. Consistency, because he was less than 1% after the bye in fluctuations. Mate, fingernailed painted genius is probably the best way to describe this gentleman, really. He's what you see is what you get. And Voss is really putting a priority on these consistent players having fluctuation players around him, and Boyd is one of them players that you can bet your ass to a barn dance. And Boyd, Chincotta, Newman, they've all allowed Doc to go further of the ball, which is why the midfield's got better. Long may it continue. And now Zach Williams comes in. One of the blokes featured here, 2 or 5, is probably going to lose their job. But whoever does lose their job, I don't think the other one's going to be safe while the other one's in VFL, because I reckon that they're going to be hard to get rid of, these two.
Absolutely. No, I was.
And when was the last time we said that as well? Just quietly. Usually we're doing this show and saying, they're going to replace Plowman and celebrating. Now it's going to be tough because these two fuckers ain't going to go away. They're going to be like, as soon as Williams is in that game, I'm having my job back.
They won't be laying down, that's for sure. And I think having gotten finals experience into both of them as well for next year, you're adding to Zach Williams, who's already got that.
Mate, I'll tell you what, Jordan Boyd and Alex Chincotta won't be like the rest of them melts. They won't go to St Kilda. They'll stay and fight.
Love it. Love it. Okay. And the new kid on the block of the year is Brody Kemp. No surprise there. Well deserved.
Tell you what, Boydie. I said Stocker was going to be the next Hodge, but I also did say that this guy was top 5 in his draft class, and it was a bargain buy. And tell you what, I went against Sauce. Sauce mentioned he was a midfielder. I said he was an intercept midfielder. Not saying I know more about Sauce, but I do have a better success rate in the draft than him. So, Kempy, massive raps. And again, we are talking about a first-year player, technically, for a defender. True. They develop late. So next year, this could be an 8. He could be rivaling Wheaterin for them outputs because he's got such aggressive stats. Him and Wheaterin, you could be looking at the best 2 defenders in the league next year for output, I reckon.
Yeah, wow.
Just quietly.
I'm hoping to see a little bit of young Bins in this list next year.
Bins, I mean, some of them now are ineligible. This week. No, but some of these guys, they're ineligible now, so they won't be here next year. But this is a good award to win. This baby award.
Yeah. All right. 2 more awards. We're going to go the finals player of the year. Spoiler alert: Sam Walsh is the winner. I think we all know that. He wins it. He wins. Yeah, he wins it in every single angle that you want to look at it. But we haven't covered the top 5. So let's have a look at our top 5 performers. Also, what are the numbers next to them? Is this their average score?
Okay, so we don't have the benefit of coaches here at TPI. We just have me. Maybe we can bring the kids involved. Maybe we can get the dog. But what we did is TPI calculates their rating. You only ever see it to 1 decimal place, but it actually works it to 20 decimal places. So it becomes a coach, and it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it gives them a vote based on that. These are all the finals games with 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we had no draws because when you go to 20 decimal places, you do pretty well. Not to get, if someone matches that, that's rare. So you'll be surprised at these results. I want you to think of the coaches' votes. So I'm really proud of these results. I just want you to take your mind back to the BNF, and then you'll be very surprised at how TPI did it.
All right, let's start. Number 5. Adam
Sonny!
Yes. Was very good in finals, indeed.
Mate, Sad's finals, people don't talk about it enough, but he excelled himself in the finals. He was a very solid performer. A 9, an 8, a 6, average 7.7 throughout the final series. Very, very, very solid. Cream rises to the crop in finals.
It does. Nick Newman, speaking of the cream, he is the cream. He's just can't praise his year enough.
He's just sexy. And I know when we did our previews, Terry, everyone seems to have jumped on the Newman bandwagon or started to recognize him. But this guy averaged 8.1 in finals. And then you look at his year minus finals. Nick Newman had just a phenomenal year in himself as well. This is someone who's been backing it up from day dot. And I remember in the preview of the year saying people sleep on him just because he's so boring. He's vanilla. He just does it every week. And to average for a whole calendar year 8.1 for all games played, it's boring.
That's mental.
Boring.
I love
Get a
boring.
personality, Nick.
Nah, I love boring. Boring is
I
good.
like boring.
In third place, Blake Acres. He was unlucky not to get himself a thumbnail in the final series. I owe him a thumbnail next year. I'll put that in the bank. He was exceptional.
And he's done well here, because if I told you that his TPI ratings were 9.59 and then a 5.5, it just shows you he started. His one bad game was the game we lost, and we lost that width and that use and that spread. Partly his fault, partly our second half, our midfield not knowing that you could go anywhere else other than straight down the guts. But again, consummate professional is Blake Acres, and well deserved to be featured in the top 3 of finals.
I'll tell you the play of Blake Acres, which just will stick in my head forever. It was, I think it was this. Wait, which one was it where he ran head first into the oncoming pack mark?
Sydney, wasn't it?
It was Sydney, right? Like he ran head first, holding his like bung shoulder.
Yeah, animal.
And just copped it in the face like oh man.
You know, my favorite thing about Newman and Acres is they're not blues. So you can't give me that shit, blue blood or whatever nonsense you want to give. But, you know, ever since they've stepped foot on the field, they have died for this football club. Like, if Nick Newman told me I have supported Carlton since I was out of the womb, I would believe him. And the same with Blake. They have really taken on. And Blake Acres' final series, for me, encapsulates what we're building. He looked like a guy that had played for this club from birth. And like you say, bung arm, taking the pain. It's a shame a few other players we've had through the history of this football club, especially since the rebuild, didn't have his heart and commitment, because it may have not taken us so long to have a finals award.
It's a good point. Yeah. Coming in second spot is Jacob Wiedering.
I watched the BNF, and you know, one thing that shocked me is anyone was shocked. Wiedering won it. I know he's not sexy, and this is why I love doing the show. We make the unsexy sexy. We are like like now everyone's into the librarian fetish and glasses. We are that fetish. We are bringing the nerd chic back, and Wiedering is the king of nerd chic. 998 in the final series. Mr. Consistency in finals. He is fantastic, and what a leader! What a leader we've got.
It's interesting. We spoke about Walsh, who we will just reveal here as Mr. Finals. Walsh, we just touched on his challenge that he had to overcome, which was the injury. Wiedering's challenge was himself, his mind, things that were happening off the field, being able to escape it and get back to focus. And he really did that in a big way. And by the time we got to finals, he really stood up. I don't recall him making too many errors in the finals in such a high pressure situation.
Laundry Day nails it. He was in second half. Opponents didn't know how to play him, didn't know how to get around him. He was becoming the problem with entries, especially against Sydney. Is a great game if you watch the Sydney game, because we talked about them in the preview as a team that is death by 1,000 inside 50s. They hemorrhage it in. They had to change their plan because he was killing them. So it was like, when Sidebottom laughed when we kicked it to Darcy Moore, that was their issue. The more they tried to do what they did, the more he got the ball. And you know what really reassures me, and I don't think the media talk about it, because I've done these numbers for the finals of all the other teams. Only Collingwood had one of their leaders feature in the top 5, Darcy Moore. Carlton have got 2. Our vice captains are 1 and 2. Well, and Cripps was playing with 1 rib. Like he was Peter Andre in it.
For all the teams that played in the finals, Wiedering and Walsh were the 2 of the top 5.
And
wow.
Leaders. And your leaders there. And you've got to think, I would bet my ass to a barn dance if Cripps didn't get injured. didn't have that big, because it was a significant injury, you could say, and I don't care what the clubs say. You'd have probably had all three of the bad boys there.
Yeah, wow.
And they're only babies. Can't keep saying that. 1 and 2 are still babies. Walsh still gets ID'd.
Just checking now. So he starts season 2024 as a 23-year-old.
People are sleeping on it. It's like I said about Jesse Motlop. For some reason, because we have gone through the minefield together, we have gone through the shit. We have added 10 years to the players, right?
Yeah.
But 1 and 2 are kids. Like, I talk down to them about economics in a bar, right? That's how young they are, right? So, honestly, God bless them. But 11 and 10, well done, Mr. Finals. And
Well
just
done.
shows you we are underappreciated.
Yep. Not here. We're bringing, I like what you said there. We're bringing intelligence to the top.
It's nerd chic.
Like it.
Do you know what I mean? It's honestly, it's Mrs. Pom dressing up as a PA. That's what we're bringing back. We're bringing it back, one day at a time.
I like it. Let's move on to Player of the Year. So, is this including finals or just season?
This is the entire season. So you've got the John Nichols medal.
All right,
we replicate it. This is 5 votes, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right,
some pretty good scores here.
We've got Cripps in 5, Charlie Curnow in 4th position, Nick Newman in 3rd position, Chera in 2nd position, and in 1st position, the 2023 Blue Abroad Player of the Year. Way. There you go. It's not that far off how the John Nichols medal.
Mate, it's up there. I mean, it's up there, and it's something that needs to be said. Like, the coaches vote the John Nichols medal, as we can see, and it's not a million miles away. We've probably given a bit more love to the players that they didn't. I didn't agree with the coaches on some of their votes. I know Cripps scored well, but Curnow was 3rd, I think, on their medal from memory. We had him 4th. I thought Nick Newman was better than him. They had him 2nd, but I also thought Chera was better than Charlie. If you take the goals away, which is Charlie's job, and I am Charlie's super fan, I do think across the board, Chera was probably more consistent than Charlie, but that's good. And Cripps, bit of credit to Cripps, because I think people have slept on Cripps. It does actually annoy me, because I have been probably the biggest critic of Cripps forever.
Yeah.
And I like this Cripps more than the Cripps you all liked. This is the Cripps I like. I like this Cripps. 5th Cripps. That's the Cripps I like. Fripps, we'll call him. I like that Cripps. That's the Cripps I want. True.
If he's our best player, well, we saw it. Brownlow medalist. If he's our best player, if he's our best player, it's not a good. I wouldn't say it's a bad sign, but there are. I think we had such a heavy reliance on him in years gone by, where if he didn't play well, we did not win games. That doesn't happen anymore.
Mate,
Took us a while.
Mate, I agree. And there's players here as well that didn't register just because they didn't play games. Walsh. Right? Add Walsh to that list. Do you know what I mean? Saad's not a million miles away from the top 5. Do you know what I mean? A lot of players are on that precipice that 2 or 3 decent games.
Yeah.
They're straight into this. There's a host of players on that 30 to 24, 23 that are waiting it. So for me, this is a really exciting time. And I think people forget we keep using the D word too much. Depth. It actually annoys me. I'm getting a lot of draft questions. Me and Terry will be doing videos on Carlton targets, but people keep going depth. Like, we had fucking loads of injuries and we made finals. That's usually a sign of depth.
Correct.
At the moment, what we need is, I actually think the opposite. We need continuity. We need
Yes.
that consistency from the
Consistent
players. And
and
Chera
health.
there, total testament to it. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot tougher being a midfielder than anything else. And to see him raising the top three, and then you've got Walsh, who probably pound for pound this season was better, I dare say, than Chera. I'd say what he did in the start of the season, Walsh did in the back half of the season. If we can get them both humming at the same time, boy, oh boy. And once Charlie has his mate next to him, Harry, could be a fearsome team.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's recap all the awards. These are the backmen of the year. Well done to Weeders. There's your midfielder of the year. There's your forwards of the year. I think we'll keep this slide here because this tells me so much more than what the other top fives do. I think because Harry's not there and the like. These are the most improved based on expectation at the start of the year. These are the most consistent players of the year and the ones that had the least amount of fluctuation between their best and their worst. These are the new kids on the block of the year. So those who played less than a season, we'll call it, prior to 2023. This is the finals players of the year, top five. And finally, as we just announced, the player of the year. So there we go. Wow, I feel like there's closure now. Pommy?
I think it really just tells you everything you need to know. Like for me, when I look at these numbers, Carlton finished 9th for points scored, right? Do you know what I mean, this year? And people sending me these draft things, oh, I'd like another midfielder. Would you? Would you? Why? What planet? Like, do you know what I mean? I can name 8 midfielders on our list better than anyone you can draft outside of the top 5. Do you know what I mean? Really? Like, for me, it's getting this forward line right, getting this hard work into them right. And I think that starts at high half forward. Do you know what I mean? We need them aces to play, and you can keep your foot speed, you can keep your classy ball user nonsense. We're never going to be that side. Voss, I don't know what Voss has got to do to tell the Carlton faithful. We ain't that side. That ain't us. We ain't the Harlem Globetrotters. We're a working class brand of football that gets the job done. And the simple facts are Carlton's conversion this year, woeful. And the forwards, they need to get better. We need that class and that X factor. And we've got UK, we've got Laundry Day, Collard, Caddy. One of these players can be that difference, but they need pressure. You've got to remember, I'd say our forward line is our only line where, if you are honest with yourself, only 6 players deserve to play. Where the midfield, you could name any selection. Defense, great argument. Forward line, though, the 6 names write themselves into the checkbook. And it's no surprise to me, Walsh got better, Chera's got better, Doc's got better when they're all playing together because it's so hot, so hard to get in there. Forward line, we need that comp. We need that pressure. Motlop needs that kick up the arse. Motlop needs it. Durden needs that kick up the arse. Fogarty doesn't need to rest on his laurels. Cottrell, if we can get 2 players in that make them look behind, boy, oh boy, look out. We could destroy this league because we're so tough to score against. You give me 200 points more a year, Collingwood do.
True.
Never heard of
Well,
him.
mate, thank you very much. You and I, we added you to the player ratings system this year. Didn't expect that it would be getting you to go back to work and create a whole algorithm for us. But I think it serves such a good purpose. I watch games so differently. I don't know about you guys at home, but after we changed the rating system to actually compare them to the players in the league and the league standard, it gave me a totally different way that I watch performances and how I judge them. And I started really embracing and enjoying no, boring's not the word, but just the guys that actually do their job are the ones that are a lot more appealing to me now. I don't like the flashy guys anymore.
Mate,
So
I'm with you. Mate, I'm honoured to do it, and the stupid stuff we do for this football club. Hey, the silly things.
It's all going to be worth it, right? Like,
yeah. And they can throw a brick on the house, put Pom and Terry somewhere in the fucking icon as payment. How's that? Give me the stone you sit 17 on, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, even just like a little grain of sand from it.
I mean, just write TPI on the 17th cup. How's that?
Yeah, fair. All right, ladies and gents, that is all for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Lots more coming your way. We've got a draft to preview in the next couple of weeks, so we'll get that done. Joe and I actually filmed a video last night, which is today, which is gonna come out tomorrow night, and we're looking at ways in which the league can improve. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. So we'll see you tomorrow night. Pommy, speak to you soon, my friend.
Much love, everyone. Love and light. Look after yourselves.
Go Blues.
Go Blues.